to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match preview for Everton versus Chelsea, Sunday the 1st of May, 2 o'clock kickoff. Everton going into this off the back, of course, of a Merseyside derby defeat. What else? 6 games of the season left to save our skins. We're now in the relegation zone. A lot of fighting left to be done, and a lot needs to be done. I'm joined by Connor. We're going to look ahead to this game of Goodison on Sunday. How are you feeling going into this one? It's a tough one, isn't it? To know now, we do sit in the relegation zone. This is the first time this season we've been in it, I think.
Yeah, I think it is, for all the worry, and I think this is the first time we dropped in it, other than if it's happened, might have happened maybe, during games, but like after final whistles, I think this is the first time we've dipped into it. A little bit nervous, but I don't really know what to expect. I'm not, pessimistic enough to say we're probably going to lose it. I've got this optimism about it, not massively, but this slight optimism that we might be able to get a point.
Yeah, I've got a bit more optimism that we might be able to win. To be honest, I think the last time we played Manchester United and won, it'll be a scrap. It won't be an easy game by any means. It's going to be horrible, ugly football, I think. Whatever the outcome, but I was a bit disappointed to only get a draw at home against Leicester. To be honest, that's really disappointing. I think that's really set us back a bit. I think losing the derby was to be expected, but I was actually more impressed with the performance there than I was with the Leicester one where we got a point.
Yeah, the Leicester one. I think as we went on, it was a little bit better the second half, but that first half, they were just passing through us, weren't they? Like a knife through butter. But I think we have a good record. The last 2 games we've had at Goodison Park against Chelsea in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. I think we've won the last 2.
We have, yeah.
Last season and the season before. So if you believe in stuff like that as well, which I know it's not as simple as that, but some people do believe in it. Maybe we've, a little bit of fate. But yeah, I think going with what you said, the Merseyside derby, I think despite the result, there was the application was there. And I think if we play like that, I think we're going to have to play like that regardless, home and away, and regardless of the opposition. But if we put in the effort, hopefully we'll reap some of the rewards.
I hope so, and I'd like to think so. But we did it against Manchester United and won. We didn't really do it good enough against Leicester first half, like you say. I think had we started applying this mindset to our games a bit sooner, I don't think we'd be in the mess we're in. Certainly not. We wouldn't have lost to Burnley for sure. I think we've been a bit more solid, and we need to be that in every single game now till the end of the season, because that's the only chance we've got. I am disappointed that Lampard hasn't made us harder to beat, because I think that's the fundamentals of winning relegation battles, is, grinding out ugly draws and, getting points where you don't expect them. And, Frank Lampard hasn't really done that enough for me. I think Burnley was a good example of it, probably a few other games as well earlier on in his tenure. I think he has improved, like, tactically in the last couple of weeks, and I'm hoping that might help us out. But that's what we need to see now, is that sort of compactness, that sort of hard to break down. Like you say, Leicester were breaking us down too easily first half in that game. Liverpool were one of the best attacking sides about. They didn't find it easy by any means to get through us. Leicester second half, it wasn't as easy for them. Manchester United were a bit toothless anyway, but we were a bit steely in the home game. So we need to show the same steel, and that sort of rigidness, the inability to break us down needs to be there, no matter how good quality the opposition is. And I know it's easy to say we shouldn't be going into games against the likes of maybe Watford and Brentford later down the line with that mindset, but that is what is needed. First and foremost, when you're a team down the bottom, you need to not be conceding goals.
Especially with how close it is, because me and Paul did the calculator last night, I think it was, and it came down to points. And I think on mine, then I did a little bit later, someone went down, I think it was Leeds, went down on goal difference. And we obviously, I think our goal difference as it stands is a little bit worse than Burnley's, but Leeds have got a worse one than us, and we've just got to make sure we don't fall into conceding an awful lot of goals. Otherwise, it puts us in even more trouble. I think Burnley have got -16, we've got -21, Leeds have got -30. So we need to make sure if we've got any chance to help us just keep our goal difference down a little bit. Because if we end up going into it with the end with like -33, which would take some doing, to be fair, we'd have to literally open the gates for teams coming to play us. But if we did that, it just makes it that little bit harder for us as well.
Yeah, really, we should be looking to claw back some of that difference against Burnley as well. If we should be going into home games where we should be trying to win every home game. It doesn't matter that it's Chelsea at home. I know they're not an easy side to play against, but I think we need to realise that you can be defensive and still play to win. I think that's something that we've never done very well. I think it's always been too black and white with us, where we believe that a defensive mindset is setting out to not get beat rather than to win. But you can play to win. There's sides in this league who play to counter attack and do a good job of it. It was what Benitez was supposed to be doing early doors, but he cocked it up. He started the season quite well doing this, and if Lampard sort of sees that and tries to set us up to do that, I think we can beat most of the teams we've got left. But like I say, he needs to. I've seen him tactically. He seemed a bit more adept the last couple of games. He needs to sort of take that on now and run with it, and really be as tactically astute as he can, because it could really help us get a few points where we maybe don't expect them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's naivety, isn't it? Because let's be realistic. I've had this conversation with loads of people, and it's hard to say because I don't know. I'm not against the fella, but was he the right person to bring in when he's not had a lot of experience and certainly not experienced this with this much trouble?
Personally, I don't think so. I was just clamouring for him at the time because the alternative was Vitor Pereira.
Yeah, which is the exact problem. I was looking at it. It was either him, Rooney, which again, Rooney would have been the same problem as Lampard. I know he's at Derby and they're a mess, but he's too inexperienced for this. And then Lampard, and I was like, he's inexperienced. He's never, and I don't know if maybe the club didn't think when we hired him we'd be still stay in this mess.
We were like 14th or something when we hired him, and still got a few points clear. So, he's got to have. He really should, to be honest, have kept us clear by now. I think I'm not going to turn on him because I think the club's an absolute circus. We know that, but he needs to learn fast. I think he has learned a little bit the last couple of weeks, and I'm hoping, like I say, that's going to be a good little platform to build on. But yeah, like I say, I think we could have probably done with a bit of an uglier manager, a bit more of an. Oh, I think, to be honest, if, like, for instance, if he was available at the time of the Benitez sack, and maybe like a Roy Hodgson or something like that, someone really not an inspiring, to be honest, in terms of football or in terms of the name, but someone really like experienced and intelligent in terms of how to grind out results in the Premier League. When Crystal Palace were in a terrible place after the ball, they brought him in and he gave them a few years of solidity, if nothing else. And now they've sort of kicked on from that. I think that would have been a decent move for us. But the only thing is in terms of a club, I think we have got a little bit of snobbery towards these sort of managers, and we could have, I don't know who we'd have brought in, who we'd have deemed good enough. The only manager we've done, I think the fan base has really approved of, was Carlo in that respect. But you can argue with Carlo Ancelotti, but there's plenty of cons that you could like sort of list against any other manager we were after in this January window, and Benitez got the sack. I think Lampard was probably one of the better options out there, but that was counting on the team being a bit more defensively solid anyway, which we've not been anyway, even before Lampard came in. Lacking a defensive midfielder really as well. Like there's a real lack of resources as well. Like you mentioned, Tom Davies has only just come back to fitness, or like back to training today, and we sent Gbamin out on loan. He wasn't doing enough. Alan Doucouré, why we didn't bring in a defensive mid, I don't know. we really needed that extra solidity. The centre-backs have been too injury-prone, too unreliable. That spine of the team has really been damaged the whole season. And I think, any team, even the best side, you could talk about a lot of the sides, even in the top half, who could have been sucked into relegation battles had the injuries we've had.
Yeah, it's mad that you mentioned, obviously, and one more defensive, because I think personally I'd have rather gone out and got another defensive midfielder than Dele Alli, certainly more than trying to get somebody like El Ghazi, which is just, it turns out, is even more of a farce. You mentioned Shabamin as well, and I'm looking now out of curiosity, and his ratings in Russia are very, very good. Obviously, that's Russia, and there is a slight difference in quality from the Russian Premier League to ours. But if he's staying fit in Russia, you'd argue even Shabamin would have been useful. Now he's one more body in midfield. He's a more defensive-minded player, so he'd have helped a little bit more. But I think Lampard is great. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't know if he was the right guy for the job, and I think next season we're allowed to judge him a little bit more because he's had a summer. I'm hoping, and he's sort of proven it a little bit now by becoming a bit more astute, that he's a manager that sort of grows with the team that he builds, sort of grows, as he learns. So I think maybe next season he probably doesn't get the out of jail card. But like you said, this is just down to not a lack of investment, because we spent a lot of money, but
lack of coherence.
Yeah, and you can spend money, but there's no point spending it if you're going to spend it on rubbish. You know what I mean?
It's been the club's been run terribly, and I think both of the main figures at the club, Ken Wright and Sherry, are both should be held very much responsible for the demise of the club if we do go down. But we've just got to hope that it doesn't come to that. I think there should be a lot of questions asked, even if we do stay up, and a lot of soul searching done, and a lot of demand for change, whatever happens come the end of the season. But between now and the end of the season is about getting results and getting behind this team and trying to grind it out. Get scream for every throw in from the stands. It's get right on the referees' back as well as in the ground, because the referees have been horrific and have shafted us terribly this season. So really, really give the referees a hard time if they give a throw into the opposition, because a lot of the times recently it has been like more niggly decisions that have screwed us over. We need to sort of anything that goes against us needs to be howled at the referee in this game. It needs to be an absolute burp at the referee. Can't have any margin for error in terms of giving decisions the other way. We can't be having that. The fans need to really make it a burp hit. And when Goodison's like that, it's a hard place to come, even when the team's not very good. We've seen that in the past. Like we've had like poor teams in the past grind out decent results, and we're talking about maybe the 90s as well, when the ground was really up for it. Never really mattered how bad the players were. And some of these players are decent, but the clubs just sort of failed them a little bit. But in terms of going into this game, go on.
I was just going to say, I agree with one. The players are good. I think the players are a good quality. They shouldn't be down where they are. But I agree with what you're saying about Goodison as well. I know there's the Everton fans forum that's obviously doing the bus, saying bring your banners, bring your flags, bring your voices. And on the Everton website, they mention I think it's Dan James for Leeds, and he said about how tough it is coming to Everton. And coming to Goodison Park, and that just sort of resonates with what you're saying, and the club are obviously very aware that the
club are endorsing it, which I'm happy to see as well, which is, I think that really adds another layer of sort of, credibility to what this sort of initiative that they're taking to try and improve the atmosphere and try and lift the players as well, because we need that. And it's brilliant to see that the club's official channels have also given this a mention and bigged it up, because, I think anyone who was sort of maybe against it that may well sway a few people. And the more people we can get behind this initiative, the better. Like, the more people we have greeting that bus on Sunday morning when it arrives at Goodison, the better. We should be out in force and, really flags, banners, even a few smoke bombs. Let's be honest, it's what needs to be done.
I've seen a
Make
couple
it
of
an
people say they've got a
absolute
couple of flares.
monster atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a couple of people say they've got a couple of flares as well for it. So hopefully we can do that. And then, I mean, that's the one thing. Like, obviously, I'm not. Part of me is like 50-50 because it's great, don't get me wrong. But then part of me is a bit like when you hear, you know, that these players, the fans need to get up for the players. I'm a bit like, you're professional footballers. You know, you earn quite a lot. You shouldn't need. But there's one thing that, like, whatever happens this season, the fans can hold their heads high. I think the crowd have been
I
fantastic.
mean, we've got to give everything. It's our club, and we've got to fight for it.
Yeah, and I think fans have been. I think that's the one thing, fans can hold their heads quite high that they're, you know, and they're still going to try their best. Obviously, this is the newest initiative to get it going, greeting the bus. So it's not like we're just sitting there going, oh, we'll do something for, you know, at 10 past, but there's always ideas coming ahead to how to improve it. So fair play to the fans.
Yeah, fair play to everyone who sort of put this initiative forward. And like I say, even I'll be honest, I haven't got a ticket for this game, but I'm still going at 12 o'clock. I'm going to be there because, you know, even if I can't get in the ground, I still want to be there to try and help the team, whatever we can do. It's our club and we've got to fight. Yeah, anyone, even like I say, that goes for anyone out there tuning in. If you're in the city and even if you haven't got a ticket for the game, get yourself down there before the game and just really show in numbers what this club means to us and really show the players that we're behind them as well. I think it's a brilliant initiative and really try and make it as brilliant an atmosphere as possible. And the more we do that, the more chance we've got of getting a good result. And hopefully that result is a win because at the home game, we should be winning our home games, even against the better sides.
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I don't think a win's impossible. I think a draw's very much capable as well. Bear in mind, we went to Stamford Bridge and drew. And that team we took to Stamford Bridge, I was looking at it the other day, that's a scary, you know, I think it was Andre Gomez and Decore maybe in centre mid. And Dobbin obviously played. Sims got some games. The team that we took there and got a result from wasn't a very good team. When you think obviously it's Chelsea. So if we could do that away from home, you'd hope at home we could possibly steal a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Like you say, we've got a few more resources available to us as we did back then. But also, I think having, like I say, if we really get Goodison roaring before the game as well, really don't even let up. You know, greeting that bus at 12, keep the noise going right the way through to 2 o'clock and into the game as well. Really, let's not let up. Like really, not just obviously getting behind our players, intimidate the Chelsea players as well. Like, you know, they'll be hearing like in the build up to this game, the roar inside the grounds. You know, when they're in the changing rooms, you want them to realise they're going to be in a game today, and that's what needs to be that's what needs to happen. You need to realise that if they want to get anything, they're going to have to get a real fight up for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Make it horrible for Chelsea players as well, because they're a club that you know, they're obviously they're a good team, but to say they've been a great team this season would be, you know, there's games they've lost. The Arsenal one screams 4-2, absolutely shocking. I know they bounced back with a win against West Ham, but it shows they have their weaknesses and they can be vulnerable if you figure them out.
Yeah, like I say, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we can win the game if Lampard gets his tactical setup right, and you know if he learns from the Liverpool game, because you know Liverpool away is a much tougher game than Chelsea at home for me. I mean, not only are Liverpool a better side, I think obviously the home advantage is crucial. It's a big difference for us. But if he takes that sort of setup, you know, we saw a little bit towards the end of the Leicester game as well. I think if he combines the defensive sort of fortitude of the Liverpool game with the tactics of the Leicester game as well, I think second half at least, I think we will definitely have something about us at least, and give ourselves a chance to win the game.
Yeah, I hope he's sort of like we said, he seems to be learning with each game. Hopefully he's learned a little bit. And to be fair, I know he's not managed there for a couple of seasons, but this Chelsea's team is still very reminiscent of the one he had, so he knows some of the players as well. Especially when you think who their big players are, Mason Mount, somebody who thrived under him. They've only had a couple of new players in, so I'm hoping that sort of gives us an advantage as well. He'll know some of these players inside and out and their weaknesses.
I'm not mistaken, I think Lukaku's come back since, and he actually played with Lukaku before he came to Everton.
Yeah, I completely forget sometimes. Like, exactly. So, like, even Lukaku, who's, other than him, I think the only other one is that Saul, who hasn't really been, I'm not that worried about Saul. Saying that, probably shouldn't
Don't
say that.
say it, please don't say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, probably end up
I mean,
scoring
odds are
now.
he probably won't play much of a part. He's been quite a big part player since he's come in, but he's. No, I'll never say anything against any player going into a game because you know what happened. But yeah, going into this, obviously, like personnel wise, what do you think the setup should be? We saw what he put out against Liverpool, against Leicester. Going by what we said, hopefully, if he does learn from it, what would you go with for this game?
Honestly, I wouldn't change much in terms of the players he sticks out and the formation. I'd just obviously tell them, to be a little less all over the place and stay a little bit more compact. Because I think he's learned as well. Because it's not just the Leicester game for the first half; it was Tottenham as well when we went there away. We're not really the team that can play very expansively.
And he's had to learn that very quickly.
Yeah, I think that Tottenham was a really, when we went there and tried to press from the front foot, I think that was a really quick smack in the face for him. But I'd play a very similar team and a similar formation purely because I think it's a couple of tweaks away from being, decent, like we've said. And one of the biggest criticisms I had for him about 3 weeks ago was that it was almost formation roulette with him. We were seeing 3 back, 5 back, 4-2-3-1s, 4-4-2.
Has to be 4, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely has to be 4. I'd go with the 4-3-3, just because that's how he's been playing it. I don't want to see him, roulette it again, because that screams panic stations for me if you start rouletting it like
it also
that.
Screams an inability. It makes it more difficult for the players to get settled, and you need a team with a bit of momentum and a bit of stability. Changing formation isn't going to do any favors there. I think the 4-3-3 is the most effective. Maybe 4-2-3-1 with the Bowlby is that tends beat some rewards at times. So I think definitely something along those lines. Certainly the 4 at the back and the 3 up top is definitely is the right setup. But it's in terms of the personnel, we would just slot into that setup.
Well, Pickford in goal. I think that's one of the easiest choices I've got to make on this. Coleman. If Yerry Mina's fit, I'd like to see Yerry Mina and Ben Godfrey if he's also fit. But I'm not too sure on Godfrey, so maybe it'd be Yerry Mina and Keane.
I'd go with Mina and Keane personally.
Yeah, Michael Keane just gives me all sorts of fear because
no, but so does Holgate. And personally, I think Keane and Mina are a decent pair, and it's very solid low block material, which is what we're going to need. I think against Chelsea, it's going to be, defensive, like I say, rigidity, and I think they're probably the best pairing to probably give us that in this game.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see Mason Holgate. No offense to him, I just think he's very good. Obviously Mikalenko at left back, not just because he's the only left back at the club, but I also think every game he improves week on week.
He's been really solid the last couple of weeks. I've been happy with him. I'd say Coleman at right back. I think Kenny's days here are ticking down.
I hope so.
Yes, certainly. And to be honest, I think I'd actually rather see Holgate at right back before Kenny again.
Yeah, just because I think he'd be a little bit more. It says a lot more about John Joe Kenny.
Yeah, it really does. Midfield, who would you go with in the middle?
I'd like to see Alan Delphin Iwobi, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'd say that was what delivered against Man United, so I'd stick with that.
No, no offense to Corey as well, because he's a great player. I just think he's been struggling a little bit.
Yeah, he hasn't really recovered from that injury properly, and I think you can't understate how important that is as well. I think Rafa Benitez has really stabbed us in the back by ripping up the sort of medical team, because our recovery times from injuries have been really slow since. Decore doesn't look the same player since he come back. Calvert-Lewin, might be back for this, but he's been struggling, picking up little niggles here and there. I think you can't understate how terrible the sort of sacking of Dan Donaghy and whatnot has turned out to be for us. I think if the club have any sense, they'd probably be back on the blower to him now, trying to right some of the wrongs of this season and maybe put the medical team back together.
I think he'd probably take it as well. He seems to really love the club.
He likes the club,
yeah. Give him a big apology. They'd have to give him a big apology and probably a bit more money. But I think in terms of his loving for the club, I think he'd take it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'd definitely be looking into. We've got to get that right in the summer as well. Really, sort of reassemble a decent medical team, because Rafa Benitez has absolutely gutted that. And it's done a lot of damage to our fitness levels, I think, this season. You've seen, even I know Van der Beek's not very fit, but we've hardly seen him as well in recent weeks. He's been injured a lot. Decore, like I say, Calvert-Lewin, there's so many we could go through. But yeah, in terms of the team, Alan Delphi Iwobi is probably the best three. I'd probably agree with that. And then the front three, would it be Gray, Gordon, Richarlison?
Yeah. I don't think we'll see Calvert-Lewin, so I think it's probably going to be Richarlison, Gordon, and Gray. And then I think he'll probably play Rondon at some point, and he'll probably go to Rondon, Richarlison, and Gordon. I don't think Gray's impressed me.
Gray's another one who I don't think's bounced back from injury well enough. I think.
No.
And is that down to the sort of rehabilitation plans that are in place? Is something afoot because of the loss of Dan Donaghy and his medical team? Is that, I think, that's affected certainly our recovery rate from the injuries we've suffered. I feel like players are taking longer to come back to full fitness.
Yeah, I think as well that there's rumours, isn't there? And there was actual examples, to be fair, with Yerry Mina, but there were rumours that we were bringing under Benitez, we were bringing back players when they weren't fully recovered. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, apparently that's one of the reasons for the fallout, wasn't it? It was that Benitez was saying, let's play him, and the medical staff were going, he's not fit. Yerry Mina being the other one, he played Yerry Mina, didn't he, in that game where, because he didn't want to play Luca Dean and he got injured and it was literally his first game back. So there's rumours that we've been playing players all season that haven't fully recovered, which doesn't help, does it, in the long term?
Not at all. But yeah, I think that's, it tells you all you need to know about that tenure. But in terms of what we can do with this team, it's still really thin on the ground, isn't it? What do you do with Dele Alli? Does he even kick a ball again? At this rate, he only gets about 15 minutes a game if he's lucky.
Yeah, he's a tough. I was looking at it then, and I was like, maybe drop Gray, but then I was like, if you drop Gray, the only other attacking option is El Ghazi, if we ever decide that we want to actually play
exists.
Yeah, and Solomon Rondon's our other attacking, who, to be fair, he wasn't awful against Leicester. So, at Liverpool, it wasn't as good, but that's Liverpool. He came on in the 77th minute. It's a bit of a tough game. Other than that, like you said, Dele Alli, maybe, but I don't know where Dele Alli fits in this team, to be completely honest. Maybe in the Iwobi spot, see if he's any good in that. But
that's his position, but it's about, I don't think he'll be as effective as Iwobi's been.
No, Iwobi's energy levels have increased a lot, as well as obviously his overall playing of the game, but his energy levels are a lot better, which I think he said, hasn't he, recently? I was reading an interview he did before. Someone had quoted on Twitter saying that it's the Newcastle game. He's like, I made a bad pass, but the crowd cheered because they saw the intent. And then he went on to say, they just want to see you work hard. If it doesn't come off, they'll let you off as long as you work hard, sort of thing, which I think a lot of fans have been saying, haven't they? Like, it's all right.
That's what Everton's about. As long as you give a shit, the fans will support you.
Exactly. You just have to run your socks off, don't you? In the fan, like when you see some of the players that we've liked over the years, just because they care, some of them that aren't very good. Umar Nias was one that fans.
Dracourlesi is the one that
Yeah,
springs to mind.
Strachan. Yeah, the pair of them, not very good footballers, but they cared. They, ran about. Fans started to get softened to them.
Exactly. I think that's any player can be decent at any club if they really apply themselves like that and like go the extra mile. And I think if Iwobi's learned that, then I think he'll be very well liked here if he sticks around. He's definitely been one of the better players of late, but yeah, I definitely stick with. I think that team that you've gone with, I don't think we can really do any better than that because, like you say, we're very short on options. For by means of injury, suspension, just lack of squad depth in general. I think it's pretty tough, but hopefully there'll be enough there to grind the results out.
Hopefully, and then I think in the summer, I don't know. Obviously, it depends where we finish, but this squad needs a couple of new faces.
I think whatever league we're playing in, it needs a lot of change.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot more faces in this squad.
Certainly, I think definitely we need to have a bit more depth and more strength in depth as well. So,
yeah, when Ron
good luck to this new sporting director, Kelwell. So good luck to him because he's got a hell of a job on.
Yeah, he's going to have to do some wonders this window.
Safe to say. But yeah, for now anyway, we'll leave it at that. We'll finish with the prediction. Connor, what's your prediction for Everton versus Chelsea?
I'll stay optimistic. I'll go 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to say let's hope for an ugly 1-0. Well, I don't care how ugly it is,
No, like I was saying, the table might come down to goal difference, and I was saying this the other day. I don't even care if we stay up by a single goal. Like at this point, it's desperation hours. Let's just cling, get as many points as we can, as many advantages as we can to stay up. Like we're gonna have to do it the ugly way.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, hopefully let's get the right results on Sunday. And like I said, guys, let's try and will the team onto a good result. Like I say, there's we're going to be greeting the bus at 12 o'clock on Sunday. So even if you're like me and you haven't got a ticket for the game, then still get yourself to the ground and greet the bus if you're in the area. Really show the team that there's strength in numbers. There's thousands and thousands of people behind them for this game. Bring your flags, bring your banners. Really make one hell of an atmosphere for that game. Don't let up. Let's just keep on fighting for our club and fighting for our club's future. That's what we're doing here. At the end of the day, players come and go, managers come and go, but it's our club. We've got to keep ourselves in the league, and we've got to do it by any means necessary. So definitely, if you're available on Sunday, get yourself down to Goodison and get yourself in front of that bus and greet that bus. Give it everything you've got, and hopefully the players will do the same. And hopefully we'll play our part in helping us get out of this mess. But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Yeah, do as much as you can. Like really spread the word about the bus greeting, even if you can't make it, get it out there. Everton Fans Forum have tweeted it, the club have retweeted it as well, so get retweet on that. Get that spread out as much as you can. Make sure everybody who's a blue knows about it, and whoever can be there. Also, check out our new store, the Toffee Blue store. The link for that is in the description below if you want to go and get yourself some merchandise. You know where it is. Go in the link below. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.